That show me subscribe.
Make no mistake, we're the only black people in y'all that only eat rat, eat cat. People, you ain't black, you ain't that. Matter of fact, your black is repo, I'm taking it back. Cause y'all making it whack, faking jacks, y'all from the slave, raiding the tax. Bitch, we built the foundation, our innovations were groundbreaking. Y'all ain't wanna get down, now you're around, hating, faking, with the linear in and out, the ground shaking. Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Make no mistake, we're the only black people and y'all the only eat rat, eat cat. People, you ain't black, you ain't that. Matter of fact, your black is repo, I'm taking it back. Cause y'all making it whack, faking jacks, y'all from the slave, raiding the tax. Breaks, pause, pause. We built the foundation, our innovations were groundbreaking. Y'all ain't wanna get down, now you're around, hating, faking, with the linear eating, now the ground shaking. Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say,
All right. As you know, like the video. If you haven't liked it already, this is a late Goon Hour live for tomorrow. I could not do all this tomorrow. I have a bunch of topics in one live. I didn't want to do all that. So make this right now. And people will see it when they see it. You dig? Okay, so let's do this. Let's do that. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So like I said, I got a live for tomorrow. I didn't want to bunch this all together. I feel like this should be separate. So if I got to stay up late to do it, oh well. All right. So I think it's important to understand Black militia groups and re-examine them. Okay, because media can make things look great, make things look bad. Either way, misrepresent them possibly. They can make one thing look great, but is actually suspect, and one thing look bad and is actually great. Okay, so let's re-examine let's start with the Black Panther Party, founded in 1966 by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale in Oakland, California. It was a revolutionary socialist organization that sought to protect and empower Black Americans while challenging systemic racism and economic oppression. Okay. Now, they didn't believe they were African at all. Okay. That's important to point out. They didn't call themselves African Americans. Core political beliefs. The BPP, the Black Panther Party political ideology, was rooted in a combination of revolutionary socialism. They viewed capitalism as a root cause of Black oppression and advocated for the redistribution of wealth and public ownership of institutions that serve the people. Okay. Anti-imperialism. They strongly oppose U.S. imperialism abroad and domestic colonialism at home, seeing seeing Black communities as internal colonies. Community self-determination. In fact, let me share what I'm reading. I think I like when you guys read along. Okay, so it ain't just boring. Okay, so we're about right here. No, this one. Yep. Community self-determination. The Panthers emphasized self-governance, okay, and autonomy for black communities, including control over schools, policing, housing, and healthcare. Their beliefs were explicitly outlined in their famous 10-point program, which included demands such as freedom and the power to determine the destiny of the black community, full employment, and end to the robbery by capitalists of black and oppressed communities. Decent housing fit for human beings sounds like integration. Education that exposes the true history of black people sounds like education. It sounds like integration. Exemption from military service. An immediate end to police brutality and murder. Freedom for all black men held in federal state. Black men. It doesn't say black American. It doesn't say African men or black, or it doesn't say African American. Because it was understood that black represented black Americans. We didn't have to say black American family. Black was exclusive enough at that time. Freedom for all black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jail. You see, that was black Americans. All right. Fair trials by juries of peers, land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. So, yes, they were integrationalists, the same way you would call that to us. Okay. So, exclusiveness and cross racial solidarity. Despite their image and focus on black empowerment, the Black Panther Party was not a separatist or racist organization. All right. In fact, they were inclusive of other racial and ethnic groups. Ooh, the Black Panther welcomed alliances with whites, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans, and other oppressed people. They built coalitions with organizations like the Young Lords, Puerto Rican nationalist group, the Brown Berets Chicano movement, the Red Guard Party, Asian American Revolutionary Group, poor white groups like the Young Patriots organizations in Chicago. Okay, so if you say we're into integration, so was your revolutionary Black Panthers. Now what? Pro internationalism and third party solidarity. They view their struggle as part of a global anti colonial movement and supported liberation struggles in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Uh-oh. Don't look like Pan-Africanism was on the center of their agenda against forced integration, but not cooperation. While they were critical of integration as a superficial solution that ignored economic and systemic inequities, they were not against racial harmony. They believed in building alliances rooted in shared class and political struggles, not assimilation. There you go. The clarity, inspirational figures, and ideological roots. The Black Panthers were intellectually and politically influenced by a diverse group of thinkers and revolutionaries, including Malcolm X, Frantz Fanon, Mao Zedong, Che Guevara, and Fidel Castro, W. Du Bois, and Harriet Tubman. Okay. They also drew from the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence when justifying their right to bear arms and challenge government tyranny. Community programs, survival programs. One of their most celebrated contributions was their creation of survival programs that address immediate needs in the black community, which were free breakfast for children program, community medical clinics, legal aid and education programs, free clothing and food drives, seniors escort services, sickle cell anemia testing, and education. These programs were practically embodiments of their political beliefs and a way to gain support in the community while building self sufficiency. So far, so good. I'm impressed. All right. Family in the chat, we got Bro Nat Turner, Toriano 3. It's late tonight. It's late for some of us. Some of us, it's right on time. Right. Like the video. Yeah, Okay. In summary, the Black Panther Party was not anti white, it was anti oppression, anti racism, anti capitalism. They were not integrationists in the liberal civil rights tradition like the NAACP, but they were not separatists either. Interesting. Their motto was Black empowerment with multiracial solidarity through political alliances and class struggle. They sought the transformation of America, not just reform. They were heavily inspired by Black leaders, Third World revolutionaries, and anti-imperialist thinkers. Okay, cool. Now let's focus on the next. That's in the picture. Who was Robert F. Williams? Robert F. Williams, 1925-1996, was a trailblazing Black nationalist, author, and armed self-defense advocate in the 1950s and early 1960s. Long before the Black Panther Party, he led the Monroe, North Carolina NAACP chapter, organized armed Black self-defense groups against Klan violence, notably the Black Guard, wrote Negroes with Guns in 1962, a foundational text that deeply influenced later Black liberation movements. Tex took exile in Cuba and China after being falsely accused of kidnapping. Okay, let's talk about it. He called for self-determination, dignity, and armed resistance in the face of racist terrorism, especially from the Klan and white supremacist police. His model combined militant resistance, internationalist solidarity, and grassroots protection of Black communities. The Deacons for Defense came before the Panthers, but somehow we only know about the Panthers. Interesting. Interesting. Founded in 1964 in Jonesboro, Louisiana, the Deacons for Defense and Justice were another precursor to the Panthers. They protected civil rights workers in the Deep South using legal armed self-defense. Drew on Williams' example and the long Black tradition of resisting white violence with force when necessary. Operated quietly but effectively. Avoiding national headlines but offering critical support to SNCC and CORE in dangerous areas. They went to the smoke because they knew where there's smoke, there'll be fire. Their difference, they didn't engage in mass political education or openly revolutionary politics like the Panthers later would. Right? All right. Why didn't the Panthers explicitly follow Williams or the Deacons' footsteps? They actually did, just in a new form. While the Black Panther Party didn't call themselves followers of Williams or the Deacons, their core ideas were very much inspired by them. Huey Newton and Bobby Seale read Robert F. Williams' work, especially Negroes with Guns, and referenced it as an ideological foundation. They believed in armed self-defense, just like Williams and the Deacons. They structured their police patrols and cop watching based on the right to bear arms and protect Black communities. Newton even described Williams as one of the most important Black revolutionaries of the era. I say the country. You dig, in the history of Black revolutionaries. Okay, let's go down. 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 Okay, here we go. Okay, so why the perception of divergence? The Panthers were public, revolutionary, and politically broader. Williams and the Deacons were more focused on defense against racial terrorism, especially the Klan. They kept a low profile and did not seek to launch a mass political party. In contrast, the Black Panther Party operated openly and publicly with revolutionary aesthetics, uniform slogans, press coverage. They had a comprehensive political platform, including socialism, anti-imperialism, free clinics, and education. They pursued cross-racial solidarity, aligning with Latino, Asian, and poor white groups. Took the fight national and international, not just regional or defensive. They weren't just resisting, they were trying to rebuild society. hmm So, why didn't they champion Williams more loudly? A few likely reasons. Strategic branding. The Panthers needed to distinguish themselves as a new movement for a new generation. Publicly linking themselves too closely to previous armed groups could have undermined their fresh ideological appeal. Red Scare politics. Williams was branded as a communist and Cuban agent by the U.S. government. Openly aligning with him could have triggered further FBI repression, though the Panthers got it anyway. Williams was in exile. He spent most of the 1960s in Cuba and China, making public collaboration difficult. His influence remained mostly literary and underground. Class and style differences. Williams and the Deacons were older, southern rooted, and rural. The Panthers were younger, urban, and media savvy. Cultural differences matter. hmm Conclusion. So, to answer your question on Bias Ron, the Panthers absolutely drew ideological inspiration from Robert F. Williams and the Deacons for defense, but they expanded the model into a revolutionary political organization with community programs, ideology, and media strategy. Their style, reach, and goals were broader than just armed defense. They wanted to transform America, not just survive in it. They didn't loudly declare Williams as their founder because they were launching a new brand of radical politics, but his fingerprints were all over their actions. Okay, so next. Yeah, so I want to highlight that. You see, the Deacons were older, the Black Panthers were younger, and my assessment mean wilder, right? More radical and easier to infiltrate. Inexperienced. Uh, Robert F. Williams was a military vet, or he just left the military. Okay, so he had that experience, that discipline. Okay, so they said I asked a great question. Let's unpack the deeper history, symbolism, and legal political strategy behind the Black Panther Party (BPP) invoking the Second Amendment. How that contrasted with earlier figures like Robert F. Williams, and whether either or both constituted militia groups. Okay, give me a second. I should have got some damn water. I'm doing this reading. Toriano says tap in from the South Los Angeles area Plaza Peace. Nat Turner says, yeah, they told us Black Panthers were just a street gang. Bill HR 40 Ron, I'm taking a different approach. Yeah, well, that's what makes us great. Bring different things to the table for consideration. And, let the people decide, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what we're going to do. Have an idea. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Right? Put them all on the table. Got to. Okay, so why did the Black Panthers use the Second Amendment? Despite Black Americans having long traditions of armed resistance dating to slavery era revolts, postbellum self defense, and groups like the Deacons for Defense, The Black Panthers the Black Panthers leaned heavily on the language of the US Constitution, especially the Second Amendment, for a strategic for a strategic uh for a few strategic reasons. Number one, legal shield and public legitimacy. The Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. This is a quote. The Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. We're going to exercise that right. Huey Newton. By quoting the Second Amendment, the Panthers were asserting their rights within the American legal framework, protecting themselves from accusations of being criminal or revolutionary outside the law, challenging racist double standards, i.e., whites can open carry, but not blacks. This was smart legal positioning, especially in California, where open carry was still legal at the time. So, what happened? Visual protests and media shock value. Their iconic armed patrols and public marches, like their famous 1967 walk into the California State Capitol, weren't just about defense, they were calculated media theater. They used weapons, uniforms, and posture to dramatize the contradiction in American law. If white people can walk around with rifles, why can't we? It generated national headlines, forcing the public to confront issues of state violence, black autonomy, and hypocrisy. That's why it seemed like a public stunt, because it was, but with very strategic intent. How did this differ from Robert F. Williams? Robert F. Williams, 1925 1996, author of Negroes with Guns, 1962, was a forerunner to the BPP in ideology, but very different in tactics and context. His approach emphasized community protection, especially against the Klan terror in the South, organized local self-defense militias like the Black Guard in Monroe, North Carolina, avoided public spectacle, preferred strategic armed defense, took international exile, Cuba, China becoming more radical but less visible in US media. So he believed in real G's moving silence like lasagna. Okay, cool. He was arguably more aligned with the Deacons for Defense, quiet, disciplined, rural based, not highly symbolic. His quote from Negroes with Guns: the Afro American, not African, but the Afro American, must be prepared to fight back, to defend himself and his family within the law if possible, outside the law if necessary. Damn. Uh, he wasn't about public intimidation, but about not dying quietly. Damn. Were the Panthers or Williams part of a militia? This depends on how you define militia. If by classical definition, a local civilian group organized for defense or law enforcement separate from the state, then yes, both could qualify, though with key differences. Styles. Let's see the styles. Robert F. Williams, quiet, disciplined defense. Black Panthers, bold public patrols. Structure. Robert F. Williams, local semi-military. Black Panther, party structure, community programs. Category. Robert F. Williams, leadership goals. I'm sorry, leadership goals. Robert F. Williams, autocratic, exile, self-defense, survival. Black Panthers, Central Committee, chapter, self-defense, and political revolution. Relationship to law. Robert F. Williams, defensive rights. Black Panther, aggressive challenge to state violence. Military. Robert F. Williams, tactical. Black Panther Party, theatrical and tactical, want to be seen. So Williams built a functional militia. The Panthers built a political party with militia tactics. You see the difference? One was actually a militia, and one was a political party with militia tactics. So don't confuse the two, family. That's why I'm comparing them side by side. So, summary, key differences and overlaps. Both use armed self defense rooted in Black tradition. Both believe state violence required community protection. The Black Panther Party used theatrical constitutional symbolism, Second Amendment, to appeal to media and challenge white hypocrisy. Williams was more grounded in rural terror survival than ideological revolution. The Panthers went far beyond guns. They had political education programs, free breakfast, health clinics, and alliances with global revolutionary movements. All right. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. So chat. That is the Black Panther Party and Robert F. Williams, Deacons for Defense. Now, dope. Both stories dope. I really believe that I I really believe that the Black Panthers would have got way further without the gun show. I believe everything they did would have been dope without. I think the guns halted what they were doing. The political thing with the breakfast, I think that would have went way further without the guns. In America, white racism. I understand you want to challenge white hypocrisy. You can do. You can. I don't understand. You can challenge it just by your rhetoric. Get on the microphone, soapbox, whatever, and say, "Hey, just make the argument. Can black people carry guns publicly like white people? You know, and maybe have one person say, look, see, we can do it. You know, one person security guard. But I just think, man, it's just me. I just think that the theatrical gun show, like not fucking around, that stuff just doesn't work. It just don't. I believe real G's move in silence, like lasagna. I think Robert F. Williams had the better approach. He was a real defense militia, and they busted their gun. The Black Panthers, can't say so. Not the same as Robert F. Williams. Like he said he gonna go out. If he go out, it won't be quietly. Like he was about that smoke. He was about that business. He was about that squabble. And he died old of old age. He didn't get assassinated. See, that's what I'm trying to say. Some approaches just ain't it. You dig? And some of us gotta just admit that. I am sixth. Peace. Best Friedman. Hey fam. Yeah, it's late. I ain't gonna be on too much longer. 'Cause I gotta get up and do it early live. Like the video. It's only 20 folks live, so why we can't just like the video and get 20 live likes? Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. Yeah, so that's my personal assessment. It could be wrong. I had stronger criticism for the Panthers, but giving it another look, I back off some of the things I said in the past. But I still believe they would have got much farther without the theatrical gun show. Maybe one person, and they continue their political movement. I think they was confused with militia and political. Stick with one. Okay, so the deacons for defense, because the reason why they stuck with one, because they already had the political movement. It was the NAACP and the civil rights movement. So they just took the back seat and separated themselves and became the defense team, the militia group. The Black Panthers, I believe, should have did the same thing. They should have separated themselves from the political, from the legal. The Nation Islam, they were political, very, very political, in a sense, right? And they did not have a military, but they had a military uniform. And that's why they lasted so long. They separated their ideology folks from the folks who actually carry arms. I'm sure the Nation of Islam had folks who carried arms, but they were in secret. They were in silent, like the G in lasagna. I just feel like white folks, I think we know white folks seen the Black Panthers openly carry and they felt threatened. All right. Sometimes, you don't want to invite the problem. You dig? Unless you can neutralize it. So the deacons for the defense, they didn't invite problems. They just dealt with them when they approached. So they was really like, like where's the smoke? We're there, but we're not gonna be the reason why there's smoke. You feel me? The Panthers, I felt like they were the reason why a lot of smoke was in the area, and they got what they were looking for. They got the smoke in the worst way. Pinky Will's piece. So that's my assessment, but I just find it weird that we know about the Black Panthers and we know how that ended. Okay, that didn't end good. It ended in bloodshed, and they did not, as a result, they did not finish what they started. Robert F. Williams finished what he started. That is the difference. All right. So on that note, see ya next live.